What's up, YouTube? It's me, Winstarch, and today I'm here to show you guys my games from the LA Open 2025, in which I won my division. So, you're going to want to stick around for game number 4. It is quite a doozy, as you'll see. Really a chess miracle, you could say. So, alright, let's jump right into game number 1. Here I was playing this man named Senin. I had the white pieces, and it was quite a good game here. Went e4, and my opponent here played the modern defense, which is g6. I go ahead and grab the center, and we develop here like normal. He plays d6, and I play c3, stunting his bishop right here, if I could draw the arrow correctly. Alright, there we go. And here he played e6, so he has a really sort of passive opening, moving a lot of pawns, not really controlling the center. And so this made it very easy for me to get my stuff out and really get an ideal setup castling here. He castled, and I play knight to d2. And, you know, pretty basic maneuvering so far. He goes knight to c6. I go rook to e1, trying to get my knight around as well as protecting my center. We have f5, which is a bit of a strange sort of push right here. He hasn't really prepared the push well. Now that this line might open up, it will be good for my rook here. So I go ahead and take that, opening up my rook. And he takes with the knight here. And I see this opportunity to bring my knight into the center and potentially bring it to g5 here or g3. Also getting the bishop out. You know, I could play bishop here. Really, my options are quite endless in this position, and my opponent so far has made it pretty easy for me to develop. He goes h6, stopping any chance of one of my knights coming to g5, which would put great pressure on his e6 pawn. So I go ahead and play bishop d2, just trying to connect my rooks. You know, if I ever play c4, I could get this bishop out. And so here he goes for b6, trying to get his bishop out, and I go knight back to g4. And here he goes king to h7, trying to get away from this pin that I could set with the queen or the bishop. But I mean, the bishop, he could just play d5 possibly, or something like that. And here I think king h8 was a lot better, because on h7 my bishop is still eyeballing his king, so really he didn't get out of danger as best as he could. So queen b3, putting pressure on his center here. Now I have some threats of taking here maybe, or, you know, there's just a lot of pressure here. Perhaps pinning this knight in the future or attacking this knight. And so he goes to knight a5 to try to chase my queen away. But I just go ahead and play queen a3, keeping tabs on this knight, making sure this pawn doesn't go anywhere, or I will take this knight. And he goes rook to e8 here, which is not really a great move, because the rook was happy on this file right here. And now, you know, he spent too many moves moving the same piece. He doesn't really have good development of his pieces. Meanwhile, all my pieces are on pretty good squares, eyeballing his king and, you know, on the king side, ready to pounce on him. So I bring the rook to d1, and here I'm preparing a maneuver. Another reason I played queen to b3 is to bring this bishop back and then get the queen in front of the bishop, making a battery on his king. And I didn't want to do that with the rook on in the corner. So first I got to play queen d3, and then bring this back, and then move the rook, and then bring this back, and then get the queen back here. But anyways, it's a moot point, because he plays c5 here and allows me to take, opening up my other rook in the center. Not really sure what he was thinking here. And now, obviously, if he takes with this, I would be able to sack my bishops or whatever and open up a line to his queen here. So he goes ahead and takes with the b pawn, and now I'm able to snap off his knight. He takes back, and I get my queen up to a4, really giving my queen a huge amount of scope. I'm eyeballing his rook. I'm eyeballing the c2 square, which would be hitting his king, and also maybe possibly h4. And once again, I'm still connected to his knight, so if his queen were to ever move, well, it would not be good for him. And so here I have a great tactic. After bishop to b7, I can, well, okay, not yet. I play knight to h4 first. And now after this move, c4, I'm able to take his pawn. Brilliant move right there. Obviously, he cannot take back because I will take his rook here. And if he were to take with the queen, I would take his knight and be attacking his pawn here. So that wouldn't be good for him. He plays bishop to f8. And now I just bring my knight back to safety. He tries to attack it, but now I get my queen into the attack, queen c2. And now his king is fully exposed. My queen will be coming in any second. And his pieces are not well coordinated. They're sort of away from his king. And doom is imminent for him. He goes king to h8. And I go knight d to f5, trying to take this pawn here. He plays queen to f6. And now I find another brilliant move, my second brilliant move of the game, bishop to h6. And you're like, what the heck is bishop to h6? Well, if he takes with the bishop, I go ahead and play rook d6. Now, if he tries to block, I say, well, what the heck? I'm just going to take that. Queen takes, and I take the bishop and take here. And now you're like, what the heck? What did you accomplish? Well, now after rook takes on e5, I'm threatening both his knight, and I'm threatening rook to h5, hitting his queen and pinning it to the king. And that would basically win the game right there. So he must have seen that and played, what did he play? He played d5. And so that sort of stops that tactic. And so now I just go ahead and play queen to d2, making sure my pieces are nicely connected here. He takes, I take, and we get an endgame here. And he immediately blunders by playing rook to d8. I get the fork here. After king moves, I take the rook, and we play a few more moves. I am able to win another one of his pieces here. I decide to trade one of the rooks. And here I'm able to win one of these two pieces. After he moves, I take the bishop. And he should have resigned, but you know what? It's fine. Play a couple more moves. Push my pawns. Tries to get one last-ditch effort, but of course I can just bring my knight here, defending the pawn. And that was an easy game number 1. On to game number 2. Have the black pieces, and I'm playing a Justin Z right here. And we get a hyper accelerated dragon, which is something I like to play when I'm playing a weaker opponent. This was a very young player, and I thought maybe he didn't know any of the theory, and I could get a really fast attack and go to lunch a little bit early. So we get d4, I take, knight takes, knight out to f6. He can't push here because I'll go queen a5, taking the pawn. But okay, he just develops normally, and I play d6 here, stopping e5. He goes bishop to e3, normal development. And basically we complete our development. I go knight to c6, stopping bishop to h6, which is usually what these players want to do. So he would have to take here first. But okay, he castles, and then I play a3 or a6, preparing to go b5 and then b4 in the future. He plays g4, and I play h5, slowing down his attack. And he plays h3 here. He probably should have taken this, because now I can go ahead and take his knight. And here he makes a pretty bad error by taking with the queen, because now I have a discovered attack against the queen, and I'm able to play knight captures g4, really stunting his attack, because after the queen moves, I'm able to also take his bishop, and now he doesn't really have much pointed towards my king to give an attack. Meanwhile, I can pretty easily develop all my pieces towards his king side, or the queen side, which is now where his king is at. I get the bishop out attacking here, and he logically plays a3, but here, you know, I could have traded on here and got a totally winning endgame, but I'm here to crush my opponent. So I play rook to c8. He moves the knight. I defend the e7 square from a fork. And after knight moves back to b4, I go ahead and play queen to a4, trying to get my queen in on the attack a little bit more. He defends, and then I play a5, kicking the knight away. But although it's worth noting here, I did have the move rook to c3, which I did see in the game. However, I thought it was far too risky, because if he takes, you know, I think I would have incorrectly played bishop takes right here. And now it's not so clear if, you know, I'm winning. But apparently after queen here, e5, bishop captures. I don't quite have a checkmate, which is what I saw in the game. I was a little bit worried I wouldn't get that quick checkmate and the game would draw on and I would be a rook down for nothing. So instead, you know, I go for this move, a5, just kicking the knight away. And then after the knight moves, I play b5. He plays queen to e2, trying to take my pawn here. And I play rook b8, just protecting that. It is worth noting that if I were to play this, it's totally fine, because after here I have rook to c2, attacking his queen. So if he would take, I would take here, and I still have a totally crushing attack on his king. But I didn't see that in the game, so, you know, I just play it safe. Rook b8. He plays f4, and I snap off his knight and move his king onto the same file as my queen, which allows me to play b4 now, threatening to take here and giving a quick checkmate with the rook. So yes, we are threatening checkmate right here. He plays c3, stopping that, but I can still just go ahead and take. And after he takes, it is a simple mate in 3. I give a check here. King moves to the corner. Queen a3 check. After the queen blocks, the dragon bishop hops out of its square to breathe fire onto the king, delivering the fatal blow. Alright, now game 3, I had the white pieces against Lawrence here. We had a French defense here, so e4 and e6, d4 and d5. And here I like to play the Tarrasch variation. My opponent said after the game that he didn't really know what to do here, so he just sort of played the normal French moves, which is totally fine. You know, we develop pretty normally in a French manner. I push his knight away back to d7. I bring the bishop to d6 or d3, queen to b6, and I go ahead and castle here. And you can see this is actually sacrificing a pawn. I'm only defending this twice, and he's attacking it 3 times. So he goes ahead and takes right there. This is all part of my plan. After he takes with the queen, I have knight to f3, hitting the queen, defending e5, and also defending d3 all at once. Very multi-purpose move right there. After queen goes back, I have queen to a4. And now he's got to develop this bishop somewhere. His knight is pinned. And so yeah, he plays bishop to c5, which is not ideal, because now I go queen to g4. And now if he castled here, I would basically just have checkmate here. Bishop captures h7, brilliant. King captures, and then, you know, I could either go queen h5 or knight g5. Either way it works. Here, here. And, you know, if he doesn't play rook e8, he's getting checkmated. So, you know, that was sort of the idea of this whole opening, and he obviously didn't see that coming. So he's in a bad position. He had to play bishop back to f8, moving the same piece twice in the opening, not generally recommended. And here I play a3, just stopping the queen from coming to b6, also perhaps preparing b4 in case of knight c5. And now he plays g6, trying to fianchetto the bishop. And I say, no, no, no. I'm going to play h4 here, threatening h5. And trying to, you know, sack on here and get to the king. And so he correctly chooses to not try to castle. Well, I mean, he still plays bishop g7, but he does not castle in this game. I play rook e1, protecting my central pawn. This pawn's very important. If I lose it, I will probably lose the game. So here he plays f5, trying to induce en passant. And here I had to resist my urges to play en passant over the board, because if I did, his knight would come out with tempo, hitting my queen, also allowing him to castle, allowing this bishop to come out. It would be really bad to play en passant here. In fact, let's just see what the computer says. Okay, apparently you're not completely losing, but it's a mistake. So I play queen to g3, which is fine. I guess queen h3 is better, but you know, who cares. Queen to b3, and I find a nice move here, knight to d4, hitting the queen with my knight and also protecting my bishop with the queen simultaneously. Queen's just gotta go back to its square, and you know, he really hasn't made any progress here. I bring the knight to b5, trying to get into these dark square weaknesses. And here he goes bishop to f8, trying to prevent my knight from coming in. But now he allows bishop to e3, hitting the queen. And he can't block here because, well, I'll just take that with whatever. And also opening up a square for my rook. So, you know, here I'm just getting everything I could possibly want. He goes here, and I give a nice check here. He can't take, obviously, because his queen will be captured. And after the king moves, I go ahead and snap off his bishop. After the queen takes, I play rook c1. And my opponent's really feeling the heat here because now I am threatening to take this bishop. And there's really nothing he can do. I take the bishop, king moves, I move the knight back. And just a few more moves here. Queen to b6. I go queen to g5, trying to get my queen into this e7 square. He takes the knight, but here it's basically forced mate. King goes back here. I take the rook. He takes the b pawn. Give a check, and after king goes to g7, I have bishop to c7. After the king moves, it's forced mate with the queen and the rook on the 7th rank. So, alright, thank you for making it this far, and let's take a look at the next game. Alright, game 4, I had the black pieces against Mark Brown here, and he plays d4. I go ahead and bring the knight out. He gets the knight out. I play e6, because normally I'm a Nimzo Indian player, but he does not go for that opening, so you know, I just go for some sort of more Queen's Gambit-y lines. Play c4 or c5, d5. You know, just very standard book moves. More Queen's Gambit-y lines. I go bishop to e7, just developing, getting ready to castle. C5, d5, and go ahead and castle, and we bring our knights out. And I don't take either of these pawns. I like to keep the tension, make my opponent make the tough decisions. And here he goes ahead and plays c captures d. And here I probably should have taken with the pawn here, but I was hoping after knight takes he would take my knight. But that wasn't the case. He played e5 or e4 instead, which I didn't really see coming. and then I played knight back to b6. And here, so far, we are following a game between Karpov and Mikhail Tal from the year 1977, so I think that's pretty interesting. But my opponent here, he makes a bit of a mistake here, and this is where we divert from that Mikhail Tal game. He plays bishop to e3, and this allows me to, take and then jump my knight into c4. But I'm a little bit too eager and just go knight c4 immediately, attacking both of these. And here he makes a bit of a mistake. He plays rook c1. I think he should have played d5 here, causing a lot of complications and stuff like that. But here, I had a good chance to take and then either win the bishop pair or cripple his pawn structure by taking on e3. Also, possibly winning a pawn on b2. But, you know, I don't think I thought long enough on this move. I just went ahead and took his bishop. And he takes back. And, you know, I thought I was doing good here because I won the bishop pair. But it's not so easy. His rook has opened up and he has quite a lot of pawns in the center. And so it's not super easy here. I take on d4. He takes back. And then I play queen to a5, just giving my queen lots of scope here, and also opening this d8 square for my rook to come in, which is the main purpose of this. I would go to b6, but his knight can come to this a4 square, which is really annoying, and stop my attack. So I have to settle for a5, which is not as good here, admittedly. He plays a3, which is a good move. And then I get in rook to d8, looking at his queen through the pawn here. And here he could have played king h1, or he could have tried to double his rooks, play e5 something. But he makes a bit of a misstep, I think. He plays knight to a4. And I didn't really capitalize this on this move correctly. I should have just keep developing, and I would have had a really nice position here. His knight probably would have been chased away if I went to d7 with my bishop, because after this move I have a discovered attack. But I didn't really see that. I was a little bit too eager, and I'm a player who likes to sacrifice material. So I go ahead and I play knight captures d4, which is a mistake. You see the computer says it's now even. Knight takes, and here I thought I had either e5 or bishop to f6, but after e5 we see we have, I guess b4, but I was more scared of this, but I guess this doesn't work because I can still block this. Either way, this move is not good. I play bishop f6 to stop this threat of the queen coming here and to add more pressure. And it looks like I might have something here, but he finds the only move that really is crushing, and that is rook to c5. And here, man, it was tough. I probably spent at least half an hour on this move, trying to find any sort of way out. You know, I was looking at b5, I was looking at queen back to a6, you know. I was looking at, what if I take this, what if I take this with the rook, what if I take with the bishop, you know, but they all end badly. For example, if I take with the bishop, he can just sack his queen. If I take the queen, he's going to take my queen. And in the end, I'm just down a knight, simply. So that wasn't an option, and, oh, spoilers, but, yep, the only move here is queen captures a4. After queen takes, I can take here with check, forking these two pieces. After the king moves, I go ahead and take that rook. And here he correctly tries to trade his rook with my rook, and so I don't really have any choice but to take that. And after queen takes, he is threatening to go onto my back rank. I'm forced to play bishop back to e7, and now my position is looking absolutely horrendous. You're probably thinking there's no way you won this game, right? Well, normally you'd be right, but in this game, excuse me, he plays e5, stopping me from playing e5 and getting my bishop out. And here there is really no good moves at all. I go ahead and play rook to b8, trying to push this b pawn and get my bishop out. But I did not see that he had this move, queen to a4, forking, well, not really forking, but attacking my pawn here on a7 and threatening to come for my king here on e8. And if he goes to e8, it's not actually checkmate. I can block here with the bishop. So I decide I gotta play a6, right? Just try to hold on as long as I can. Hopefully my opponent makes a mistake. He goes here, check, and I block with the bishop. And now here, the mistake of the century. My opponent thinks he can win a pawn here on b7, and he decides to take bishop takes b7. But he forgot that his king was on h1. And here my opponent resigns the game after being up +4 according to the computer and completely winning. Because here you can obviously see bishop takes, wins the queen, and delivers a check. If his king was on, say, g1 instead, I would have to take here with the rook. And the queen takes, and I would take this. And so, yeah, my opponent, he let out a big face palm and went, no! And basically let me know, oh, he made a huge mistake. Let me go ahead and take that piece right there. And yeah, before I can even play that, he decided to resign. And yeah, so now at this point in the tournament, I'm up 4-0 by a miracle. And, you know, honestly, I don't think I deserve to win that game, but maybe I was the chosen one. And, you know, the chess gods wanted me to win that game. So that's how game 4 went down. Okay. In game 5, there's not really the most exciting game. I'm still going to show it. So in game 5, I had the white pieces here, and we had a little Caro-Kann. The queen comes out to b6, which this is not a move I was super familiar with. I had to think for a while in this opening to figure out where I was going to develop my pieces and how I was going to play against this. I play knight c3 because I know his idea is going to get his bishop out somewhere on these squares and harass my king. He plays e6, opening up his bishop, and I play knight to e2, which is maybe not the best way to develop, but it's kind of hard to get your pieces out. You know, if I go here, he's going to take this pawn, and, you know, if I go bishop to, you know, e2, my knight doesn't have a square. I would have to go here, and potentially he would take my knight. But, you know, in hindsight, maybe I should have played bishop to e2. I'm not really sure. I guess bishop e2 is maybe a little bit better. But anyways, he goes c5 here, and this is a huge mistake, and I did not capitalize on this, unfortunately. I could have gone 5-0 and been the single placeholder of first place. But instead I play knight to a4 instead of taking here, because taking here simply just wins a pawn in every variation. He could take, but then I just go queen takes, and there's nothing he can do. And yeah, that's basically how that line would have gone, but I didn't see this somehow. And yeah, played knight to a5, blocked with c3, and also protecting my knight here. He played bishop to d7, and I went ahead and took on c5, and here my position's looking great. He takes my knight, and now all I gotta do here is take his knight, or take his bishop. But for some reason, my brain was fried. Jesus, my brain is still fried. I decided to play b4. For some reason, I forgot that he could just take that b pawn. I was thinking, oh, he's going to move his bishop back, or he's going to move his queen back, and then I take his bishop, and I'm just a solid pawn up. But unfortunately, he has this move. Bishop takes b4, take, and bishop to d2. And I'm still doing perfectly fine here, but I've sacrificed a pawn just for a little bit of tempo. And, you know, I really opened up this queen side over here.
And I'm still doing
so I have good compensation for the pawn. However,
a pawn just for a little bit of tempo.
Not what I should have played here.
Really
he goes queen to a5 check,
so
and
I have good compensation for the pawn. However,
not queen to a5. He goes queen to a4, not a check. And here I don't really have much of a choice other than to take that queen he takes, and then I bring my knight out, winning a tempo on here. He's gonna go back to c6. If he goes to any other square, I'm winning a pawn. So this line was good for me. And I take, and he takes, and I should have taken his bishop here, winning a bishop pair and isolating his pawn. But for some reason, I am super greedy and decide to go knight to b5, trying to deliver a check with a fork, winning the knight. There's also another check here, which would win the pawn, or win possibly a pawn in the future. But of course, he has this really annoying move, king to d7, stopping all the checks.
But of course,
and here I go ahead and play rook c1, trying to land my knight here. But it just doesn't work because he can develop his knight, stopping my idea. And now here I play bishop to f4, still trying to get my knight into his position. And there's no way for him to really stop this. He goes knight to e7. And I get my knight into d6, attacking both this f pawn and this b7 pawn. Here he could have played knight back to g6, which I think would have been good, but he tries to save his b pawn over here, which then allows me to take this pawn. I'm not sure if he saw this sequence, but the rook goes here. I now have a check here. After he takes, my bishop lands here, attacking his pawn and also controlling the c7 square. Computer says it's a draw, and it's hard to generate much play here. He brings his rook in. I go ahead, take that, and then I play a bit of a mistake here. I go a4. You know, I'm kind of worried he's going to take that. If he ever goes rook here, I can just move my king. So I wasn't too worried about that. I did miss that he could play rook c2 here, but that's a hard move to find. He plays the second best move, bishop to c4, trying to trade off pieces here. But obviously, if I were to take that and take this, I would have no way to defend the pawn. So I go ahead and bring my king up to d2, preparing to take, and then swing the rook over. And here he plays g6, stopping me from capturing. And on this move, I capture c4 and offer a draw. And he goes and checks the score sheet and sees that, you know, he can share the first place prize with me and we don't have to play this really long end game. Computer does like his position after here and here, but, you know, we agreed to a draw. So, not really worth it, I guess, in his eyes, to keep playing this and risk losing money. And that's how I felt as well. So we got the good old gentleman's first place. And we split the first and second place prize. And I got some shmonies winning that. Okay, I hope you learned something from this. And if you made it this far in the video, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Leave a comment thinking, let me know what you think and what I should do next. And thank you very much. Have a starchy day.